We understand that many people have questions about what to expect once we leave the matrix and exit through a hole in the grid. What will we experience and what will be our future adventures after our departure? After having reviewed all the comments to our videos thus far, we have noticed a mix of responses from people, so we decided to bring a few of the most common concerns up for discussion. One of the things people are wondering about is what we will see when we are outside the matrix. The simple answer is that we will see what we are ready to see. If we are too stuck in false beliefs that we are carrying with us from the matrix, we will experience things based on those beliefs. Therefore, it's so important to get insights before we exit. We need to understand how this trap is constructed and held in place by our own belief systems. If we are still in agreement with the belief systems we have adopted here under the influence of the overlords, we will have a much more difficult time to adjust once we're out of here. Thus, it's up to us what we will see and experience outside the grid. For example, if we firmly believe that the universe/Ka looks exactly like we've been taught by NASA, that's what we're going to see. In other words, our perceptions will still be limited because we are all individuals so long as we live as separate souls. And what we believe is what we believe. To a great extent, that will become our reality. If instead we are willing to let go of all we've been taught here in the system by the AIF and their minions and keep a totally open mind, we will experience the full Ka the way it has been created. Any limitations or blinders are solely in our own minds. Moreover, if we keep this open mind and surrender to the experience, we might see something we would never have expected. If this happens and we refuse to believe what we see, we will again change our perspective and our surroundings will change according to our beliefs/disbeliefs. There is, of course, a real blueprint of the Ka, which most star beings are operating in, but they have not been trapped and manipulated like we have. So to them the surroundings are obvious and a commonality. Because we have been manipulated, it might take a while before we get used to our new surroundings and how to operate in them. But as long as we are open to adjust and learn, we will be absolutely fine, and we will get help if we need and want it. Thus, Ariel and I can't say that you will see this or that when you exit. It will be up to you. Hence, it's important to break as many chains and false beliefs as possible while we're here, because if we do, things will be so much easier once we're on the other side. We are meant to become creator gods/goddesses after this experience. So the question is, what will you create? This brings us to the next concern. Who can we trust? Because we have severe trust issues here inside the matrix, often rightfully so. How does that change once we're out of here? Well, it doesn't. So let's elaborate on this. First, we have already discussed that we shouldn't trust anybody from the point when we exit our bodies until we're out of the grid. Don't listen or pay attention to anybody, even if they seem benevolent. We don't need any help to go through the grid when we can do it ourselves, so we just do it. After that, we're mingling with star beings who might seem quite different from us, not necessarily in a negative way, but they have had other experiences than we humans, so they think and act foreign to us in the beginning. To our advantage, we have hopefully worked on ourselves and gotten rid of many false beliefs from now on and until we exit. And we also have increased perceptions after we leave the matrix. On the other hand, we are children of nature. Neither Homo sapiens sapiens or the Namlu'u before that have really been living in the car before. We were born on the planet, both as souls and with our physical bodies. The car experience will be relatively new to us. This means we need to be willing to learn. Again, we will make mistakes on the way, which helps us understand more. And we still need to use our discernment when mingling with star beings. Most of them are benevolent, but we need to keep in mind that each soul in this universe is a unique unit of oneness, i.e. the Divine Feminine. And we are created to have our own experiences and to learn. It's not different out there than it is here on Earth, except we are not trapped and manipulated. This does not mean that we can't be manipulated again in the car, but hopefully when we leave, we have learned one or two things about entrapment. This is also why we suggest going to Orion first to get guidance and to learn more about our new existence before we go out on our own. However, no one will stop us from exploring and checking things out on our own without going to Orion first. It's up to the individual soul. The problem is, from what Ariel and I have seen in the comment sections and in the truth communities in general, is that people who look for the truth, when they access new information, they bring their old beliefs with them to such a rigid extent that they are unwilling to absorb new information unless it corresponds with the beliefs and concepts of reality they brought with them from earlier. Thus, they discard new information that could move them toward additional expansion. People tend to limit themselves because of their own beliefs, and people in the truth communities are often no exception from this rule. To expand our consciousness, we sometimes need to surrender and come to the conclusion that much of what we've learned previously can be false. Our information is not an exception to this rule either, but the entire purpose with these videos is to try to help people expand their consciousness and think further outside the box. The question is always, does it expand your way of thinking or not? We've noticed that many people in the spiritual field contradict themselves. They know that they live in a matrix, where they are limited to their 5 senses, and that we can only perceive a tiny piece of the electromagnetic spectrum. Most truth seekers are in agreement on this point. Then, when an expanded view of reality is presented, by us or others, the same people try to compare what they think they know in this extremely limited reality with what is going on from a much larger perspective. Then they become arrogant about it and think that if they can't understand it or immediately make sense of it from their current limited 3D view, it must be false or a psyop. This, if anything, is very dangerous thinking if we want to set ourselves free. It is the narcissistic part of our ego talking when we are expressing this kind of arrogance. It's a contradiction, and with this kind of mindset, it's best not to leave the matrix, at least not until a more expanded view on reality has been accomplished. This might sound harsh, but we are not going to beat around the bush on this. It's too important, and it doesn't benefit anybody if we are reasonable about it. If Ariel and I didn't care, we wouldn't even spend time on this and release all of these videos. In one of the comment sections, someone said that Ariel and I have been diplomatic in our videos, and this person meant it in a good way. But I took this to heart, and to be honest, I think we've been too diplomatic, and it's time to face reality the way it is, without any sugarcoating. Now, let's look at false beliefs. A common false belief is that people still think we are going to some kind of biblical heaven when we exit. A belief that, in this case, comes from the New Age community, where they suggest that we are going to the 5th dimension, etc., where everything will be wonderful and easy. This is a huge misconception that needs to be addressed again. We need to ask ourselves why we, the separated souls, are operating in the universe in the first place. If we grasp that concept, the rest is easy to understand. We are not here to live in a nebulous, cozy heaven for the rest of our existence, where everything is love and light. We are here to learn, create, expand, and experience. And experience means personal experience, which can be anything a soul wants to experience, good or bad from a human perspective. It doesn't matter because it's all experience. You who listen to and read this is the one who chooses, based on your own free will, what you want to experience. It's your choice. If we humans or other star beings make what we consider bad choices, that's fine. It's just a matter of making a better choice next time. The same goes for our own entrapment here on Earth. And this leads to the next topic. We see over and over how people start accusing the Queen, our Mother, for not coming here and save us or help us out. Again, those who address that issue is still highly irresponsible, seen from a larger perspective. They can't see the bigger picture at all, yet. It's not meant as an accusation or intimidation. It's just where those people are at this moment. They are still stuck in 3D thinking and limited beliefs, and they are unable to look outside the box. They are not there yet. From a cosmic perspective, that mindset is considered highly arrogant and irresponsible. The star races in the car consider that being as being relatively like a little child who doesn't get cookies for breakfast instead of healthy food, and they get angry at their mom. Or it's like an adult human who has made bad decisions, which made them land in jail. He or she gets angry over the situation, but they don't get angry at themselves for making bad decisions. Instead, they get angry at their mother who is not coming to rescue them and get them out of jail. This last analogy applies 100% to the same childish attitude some have towards our cosmic mother. We humans think we can understand the cosmic mother by comparing her with the mother here in 3D, who is a manipulated human being, wittingly or unwittingly raising the children to become dysfunctional and obedient citizens of the system. This is not what cosmic motherhood is about. With the above in mind, where did personal responsibility go? It went right out the window. People are expecting the Queen to come and rescue them, when personal responsibility is everything in this universe. We are our own creators, and when things go awry, we can't call for our mummy to help us out. Where is the learning process in that? We painted ourselves into a corner. Yes, we did. But there are solutions, and it's up to us to find them. This is where the higher perspective comes into play. Souls are in this universe to experience, using free will of choice, and one choice leads to another choice until we get what we want. The solution is already presented, and it's up to each individual to decide what they want to do, exit or stay in the matrix. Here's the important thing. We are so afraid to lose our ego or sense of self that we hold on to it until our last breath. In a sense, this is a good thing because we need this ego in order to survive as well as possible while we're here. But from a cosmic perspective, the ego is not overly important. We are all one, and there is only one source, the Divine Feminine. We are all just extensions of her. She is not overly concerned about each person's ego. We are all just her anyway. With that said, most of us still want to keep our ego beyond this life so we can continue our journey, and therefore, again seen from an ego perspective, Many of us have a difficult time accepting that our own cosmic mother, the Queen, would potentially terminate all souls here if absolutely necessary. Because of that, many want to reincarnate again to help humanity out. However, with our videos 45 and 46 in mind, how would that work? First, you have been terminated thousands of times, in a way, every time you reincarnate from having your previous ego split into a trillion pieces and been made into a new soul with a new ego with which you reincarnate. Thus, what can you gain from coming back? We need to start looking way beyond our 3D thinking if we want to be able to get to where we need to be. And if your ego tells you that this is you, although there is no you outside the Divine Feminine herself, and this is who you want to be, choosing not to be terminated or changed, then exit the grid after this lifetime. You have already been terminated thousands of times in the Between Lives area, BLA. Reincarnate again, and your ego will definitely be eliminated, or leave the matrix and keep your current personality. It's as blunt as that. But before you leave, there are things you need to address, as follows. It's important to understand that we need to expand our way of thinking whilst we're still here in the matrix, because whatever beliefs we have that don't benefit us, we bring with us into the car. This is exactly why star races don't want most humans to leave the matrix, and this is another reason why it would be irresponsible of the Queen to come and rescue us. No one wants humanity with our current collective mindset out in the car, understandably so. Consequently, those of us who are not willing to take responsibility for our own condition should not go through the grid. They are not ready for what is waiting on the other side, where free will and willingness to take responsibility for our own creations are mandatory. If we don't feel ready to do that, we are not ready to go through the grid. No one is responsible for your life except you. This doesn't mean there is no teamwork in the car, but you will be responsible for your own choices and actions. This is the mindset we need to encompass when we exit. If we don't, we won't do well out there, and we will have difficulties in our relations to other star beings. Therefore, it is imperative that we work on ourselves as much as we can before we exit, because who we are at the exit point is whom we take with us in the car. The more of false beliefs we can shed while still here, the better. Therefore, suicide, for example, is very irresponsible and will not benefit anyone. If someone will commit suicide today with the intention to go to the car, he or she misses out on the healing that they could have experienced while still here. Remember, we are limited 3D beings with limited perspectives, so we need to be humble about how much we are able to grasp while looking at things from inside this matrix. However, we need to grow up while we're here and stop blaming others for our situation. So long as we're grumpy children, we are not ready for the adult life out in the car.